Welcome to today's edition of Joy Asanya Live, the Eduvention Hour. Like you already know, this is that program we have here every Wednesday to discuss lifestyle protocols that will get you at the apex of your living. It's not just about living or existing, it's living with value, one that does not just give you the necessary satisfaction, but your environment and people around you. Last week on Eduvention, we had a conversation around cracking strategies to crack drug addiction the Eduvention way. We did not complete that episode because we realized how huge that conversation is, and a lot of people try to reach out to us to ensure they got their observations and questions out there, but we did not exhaust it. And today we'll be having the part 2 of that conversation, strategies to crack addiction. And as usual, Dr. James Komolafe is right here, senior consultant with SABA Resources. I welcome you to the studio.
Thank you very much, Joy. Good to be here today.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. You look like a banker,
well,
or a senator. Well, one of the senators who probably is receiving monies they cannot.
It's the last day to my birthday, so I'm just warming up.
Oh, yes, that's true. Oh, that's true. Yes, that's true. Maybe there'll be giveaway for you at home today. Just stay tuned. Tomorrow is Dr. James Komolafe's birthday. But we'll go for a very short break. We'll return to get to the crux of the matter, cracking addiction. How can you crack addiction? We'll be right back. Last week on Eduvention Hour, we talked about diagnosis, delivery, and domesticating. That's still talking about addiction. And Dr. James Komolafe, you tell us, why do addiction victims go back after rehabilitation? I think that is the last conversation we had, and it's a good place to pick up from there.
Many reasons co-adduce to it, and welcome to the show. If today happens to be your first time on Eduvention Day, Eduvention, not just education, knowing. You need the capacity to back up what you know, to turn it into a doing, where you have both the art and the science working together. So education on one side and intervention on the other side. So every Wednesday we're here for Eduvention Live. That thing you know, officially, unofficially, through school setup or non-school, whatever basis, can always turn to an intervention. In other words, knowledge alone not sufficient. Though necessary, if you can afford education, good. And education is not even about just going to the so-called school. Life is a college, an institution to learn. As you learn, you yearn in order to earn a living. But you know, in the course of trying to just yearn to learn and earn, some people go the opposite direction. They walk into error. They walk into addiction. Substance abuse, drug addiction, food addiction, addiction to porn. So what is an addiction? Especially on a bad note, anything that engages you on a wrong version of yourself, to the point that it begins to control you, speak to you, dictate the pattern of life you will need to live necessarily, whether convenient or not. Even when the instances and the consequences are negative, you just cannot do without it. After 2 weeks, you have become an addicted individual. And so, in our world today, many of our youths, especially teenagers, 18 to young adolescent, young adult, 18 to 25, statistics has it that about 75% and over are into one form of addiction or the other, especially the drug addiction. So we have our rehab centers, rehabilitation center, hubs, where they take them to in order to see what can be done to bring them back to their original setup, filled up, replete with the young, old, and adult who are into drugs. And they do all of the therapies and the rehab and all that. Some spend 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, and then they give them all they need to do and the checks to say, okay, once you are out, stop doing this, start doing this, you know you are new people. And surprisingly, on very many occasions, they come down in relapses. What is a relapse? It is bouncing back and going back to your former lifestyle of addiction. And so many people are wondering why the relapses. Relapses could occur. Relapse is part of a healing process. But you know what? Before a child begins to walk, a toddler, a baby, you will fall down severally. But if every attempt to walk is always met with a falling down and the child never gets to walk, then that is a bad one. So
Right.
1 or 2 relapses, it can still be helped. But when, for example, I've seen a young guy who has been out of 6 rehabilitation centers and he keeps relapsing. Why? Number one, if you don't take to all the directives and instruction, the guide you are giving, you come down. The drugs you are giving, you don't take it as at when you come down.
Right.
The exercises and the lifestyle protocol you are supposed to do, if you don't do it, you come down. That's not to say there are no places where the diagnosis, the prognosis, and all of the rest are not adequate. And that's where deviation comes in, to say, hey, as you take the diagnosis, you need the capacity to be able to route the essence of the addiction situated in that person. Help him appreciate what it is,
Okay.
to what capacity, to what intensity, to what degree, even to percentages. You look at it by trend analysis over time. How has this particular addiction trended within him? And then you look at structural deviation. How has this addiction made him to veer off his normal person? These are all services provided for in a deviation strategy to routing addiction. When all these are not done with point blank analysis and root cause analysis, the individual bounces back to his former life.
Okay, so
The urge to go back to drugs just
yes, we had to cut last week's edition,
Yes.
especially because we got we cut it at a time that was really heated. We got a
Yes.
call where somebody admitted
from
to
southwest,
be,
southeast or so.
from the southeast,
Yes.
where somebody admitted to be addicted to drugs,
Just
and,
because he didn't get a job on
at the time.
and he felt like this depression, I have to walk over it by just forgetting it.
Right.
And we discover it was just a temporary respite, because
it was
that
a temporary respite.
wouldn't answer for addiction. Addiction does not answer to temporary respite. It can cool down a bit, but when the facts and figures are obvious and there are triggers here and there, the person comes back, in fact, in fuller force. Why? Addiction that is suppressed under the guise of therapy and rehab, and it's not well managed from the inside, will erupt again and come out in full-blown force.
So what happens when they have all these good intentions? You often see them you just talked about structural deviation,
Yes.
where you can see the damage it's doing to
It's
them.
doing to them,
They
yes.
also can see this
We
damage.
will show them through our 3E model. Exploration, digging deep into them. Expression, showing them. And establishment, bringing them back to their former state.
Right.
So that they can now converge from the inside to the outside and from the outside to the inside.
Right, but
If
my
that
question,
is not done,
is,
they can come down.
my question is,
Yes.
they can see the damage
Themselves. Yes.
what this is doing to them. So
Yes.
I've read about very harrowing experiences where people sell properties of their loved ones. They do all kinds of things.
Yes.
They know they are harming
That is
this
the
person.
symptom of an addiction.
Yes. So
They can sell anything, including their shoes and everything, and their wives.
so why is that never motivation enough not to go back? I mean, after seeking help, you're in the rehab. Why is this changes? This unfortunate life trend that this addiction has taken you to? Why is it not motivation enough to? I would stay away from this as long as.
Thank you for that question, Joy. One thing about the future of addiction is that it imposes and superimposes its own life on the victim. What do I mean? How do I mean? The victim is under compulsion, because addiction does not just happen overnight. It traces and pathway through bad habit on a repetitive note. You keep repeating the bad habit, going the way of drugs, substance abuse. Your system, as soon as your system accept it as the norm, though abnormal, and you keep walking in that light, what happens? Your willpower is eroded on the inside. Your mind becomes consummated. Your passion is corrupted. Your feelings
and justifications now coming.
And justification comes in. Right on the inside, a new ecosystem is built, different from what obtains outside. So the individual is highly susceptible to what happens on the inside more than the outside. So what is the ecosystem on the inside of the addicted? One, he will begin to hear voices. He will begin to see things in his mind. He will begin to hear compelling voices. And that urge to go do drugs, it will be as if he has not taken that substance, life has not started. In fact, addiction, being a parasite, will convince him that, you see, for you to be all right, you need me. Three things addiction does to its victim. One, it will crack the lifestyle protocol.
Okay.
So that the evidence of originality will pour away and get weakened, declined. Two, it will pollute the essence of the original life, so that there will be joint whatever, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the tendency for the addicted is the bad and the ugly. And then three, whatever is the lifestyle protocol from root, from foundation, stands to be corrupted. And that's where parents are just surprised that the children that grew up under the same roof with them, with Bible study, with prayer, with church, with mosque, with all those things, go to Canada, go to Europe, or just 1 week holiday, they come back different. Because you see, once addiction sets in, an addiction will never force itself on anybody. It doesn't even begin as addiction. It begins as a wish,
a recreational thought, right?
Just begging you and showing you reasons why you need it. And once you give into it and you are not quickly helped out of that ecosystem, it begins to get encrusted, rooted within you, and begins to bring forth its bad flowers, and you begin to accommodate it. Then you go that lane. So it begins to dictate inside, and you cannot say no. It starts with a mild thought, then it becomes rooted, it becomes wild, and become later violent. And from violence, it can become fatal. And that's where they begin to think of suicide and all of that, because the world inside is blocked, the world outside is not helpful. So they begin to look for the world beyond, just to rest it, just to say, well, I'm tired, I'm fed up. They will sell anything in order to sponsor the addiction within.
Okay, speaking about sponsoring an addiction within,
Yes.
a lot of parents and guardians and people have often tried to starve them of maybe access to resources and funds in a bid to get that the addiction wear off. Is that
it doesn't wear off? It won't work. That is
so. If let's get very relatable now. There is a young person who is addicted to drugs, for instance, a certain drugs, and he no longer gets access to these drugs or access to funds to buy those drugs
and some other incentives
or any incentives whatsoever.
Sponsor it.
Exactly.
Not available.
At what point can he say, okay, after being starved of this, wouldn't it just naturally wear off he's surviving? What will make him still go back?
There's what we call, just like we have seed dormancy in agriculture, there's what we call addiction dormancy.
Okay, it's there, it's just not
it's
thriving.
Just there, just sitting coolly, waiting for opportunity to sprout out. And that's why when it has not rained, Joy, everywhere looks dry. Because it's dry season. That doesn't mean there are no potent seeds in the ground.
Right.
First, second rain, what happened? Everything comes up.
Right.
So there are triggers everywhere. And that's why the rehab centers must learn and inculcate the principle of behavior modification strategy. In fact, there is a work we are doing now, we call it Behavioral Modification Africa, where we are going to collude and collaborate with rehab centers, social caregivers, and everybody in the paramedical and medical line to say, hey, let's do behavior invasion, where we are able to articulate the extent of damage within an addict and help him appreciate it, where those things are, and then route them away, cause a restoration to the original default setting, and then empower the same individual to find the place of his best fit, where what is woven and within him becomes a work without him. When that is not done and you are talking about any form of empowerment, now that he's out of rehab facility and all of that, it won't work. It's like putting the wrong peg in the right hole. So what we do through a intervention strategy to routing or cracking drug addiction is to trace and trunk the evidence and the elements of addiction in situ in order to destroy it through analysis. This one, for example, is titled Addiction Manifestation Test. With this single sheet of paper, Joy, I can see when I run it through a client, it will tell me the strength, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of addiction in that individual. Then I will also be able to see what we call behavioral pitch.
Okay, so in this assessment,
just this assessment, will tell me 35 things about the individual.
Let's talk a bit about the assessment. The assessment depends largely on how truthful your subject is, and we've known how untruthful
there are guides to this. There are rules to this.
So how do you ensure that your subject is
there is, we call this psychometric analysis.
Okay.
In African climb and some Western climes, the only thing to do with psychometric analysis is to use it as a basis for interview to secure jobs and all of that. But by my deeper study and work in Florida and Hawaii, United States of America, I've been able through creative intelligence to weave it into solutions powering Africa and the African setup as a basis for intervention in critical issues, whether the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there are guidelines and there are rules. There are underpinnings by which we'll be able to check the validity, the reliability, and the authenticity of any input. For example, by root cause analysis. By the time we subject this assessment to root cause analysis, it will show us point blank the root cause, what exactly is responsible for, which will reconcile with the evidence we can see on your face. For example, if you are into drug addiction and you are saying, no, I only take big stout and it is once in a blue moon. mere conversing with you, we can see the color of your pupil. We can see your lips. We can see how you are beginning to package in order to just hide some things. You are licking sweet all of the time. You are doing as if something is wrong somewhere.
And before we leave, I would like you. I would also like you to share those little tips,
symptoms,
so that so that parents would be able to first hand know when their children are beginning to experiment.
Not just parents now, even parents themselves. We have the addicted parents who will tell the children, see, you see this thing in my hand, the day I see it in your hand, don't do it. Oh, John, I'm warning you, run away from this thing. So what do you say to that? Children learn more through what they see than what they hear. So it's not only for parents who need to know, peers, friends, colleagues, organizations, institutions. In fact, in Africa now, there's hardly any institution, whether solemn, church-based or not, that you don't find them riddled with drugs and addictive behavior. And addiction is not only drugs.
Drugs, right. Addiction
to phone. Shout hallelujah, hallelujah, and it's call me later. All kinds of things. People can no longer focus. Some people, addiction to phone, addiction to porn, anything that captures your will, your feelings, your emotion, and you can no longer say no as at when due, is not only a bad habit.
It's an addiction.
It's growing and tending towards addictive behavior.
Okay.
Especially when you know that this thing, you are not supposed to do it, but you just cannot
help yourself.
I told you of a boy who they subjected to 3 days prayer and fasting and topped the fasting with deliverance. By the time he was going to break the fast, he went to the backyard to do wee. And they caught him. They said, with all of this, you want to kill yourself? He said, I can't help it. Because you see, if you don't separate the victim from the inside, from that strange and strong attachment, from the inside, it goes back again. Because what is fueling it is within, not outside.
Doc, this is a good time to go for our short interview. When we return, we'll get into the other part of the conversation. Remember, you can also reach us with the numbers that will be displayed shortly, so that you too can reach Dr. James Komolafe and ask questions, especially around the topic today, cracking addiction the deviation way. We'll be right back.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad with Kaftan TV 7 p.m. News.
Good to have you join us on Kaftan News at 7.
Nigerians are living in up to 5%. Our young people purpose the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on Kaftan TV News at 7.
We found that the 10 naira not sufficient.
National, foreign news headlines. Get balanced, accurate facts on the latest news in business, politics, entertainment, sports, and more. Live from our studios.
Many thanks for watching, and join us again at 9
Kaftan TV News.
Welcome back from that. We're still discussing how to crack addiction the intervention way. We've taken the conversation past the periphery of addiction, what it is, how to discover it. In fact, we're getting really in depth into that part of the conversation. And now we would be discussing how to ascertain precision.
Yeah.
Dr. James Komolafe is still right here with us, Doctor.
Yeah, precision is key.
Precision is key, but I would like us to start
In
from
diagnosis.
I would like us to start from something you said in passing before we went on that short break.
Okay.
You're talking about religious interventions.
Yes.
For this. You are a pastor as well. A lot of the viewers do not know that that you are a pastor as well. Are there intervention for pastors or train-the-trainer kind of arrangement? Because they come, a church member comes with his child or a case of addiction, and the pastor would, especially, okay, maybe I should stop saying pastor before they come after me. Let's say religious leaders. Your followers will not say, I am after you pastors.
Okay.
Religious leaders, not knowing what to do, now go spiritual instead of just saying, you know what, this person is suffering addiction, needs rehabilitation, needs proper intervention that will help. So what are we doing to ensure that these people who are sometimes first responders have adequate knowledge?
Very vital and critical. If I put up a work together and it's out there, if you are interested, just reach me. You can download it. It's titled Differentiating Between Behavioral Violation and Demonic Affliction.
And demonic affliction.
They are two different things.
But shouldn't the pastor who supposedly has spiritual insights, won't he be able to at first hand differentiate these things? We already have.
Joe, you need to know that
spiritual
is not enough. Man is spirit, soul, and body.
Right.
So the knowledge of the pastor determines how far he can go. There's nothing bad in going spiritual, necessarily, but never sufficient.
Okay.
It's not sufficient to bind demons. What if it's not a demonic thing and it's just character thing?
The pastor should know.
So what if he does not know? So that's why intervention says 5T model, which we want to discuss today. The first T is teaching, which is education. The second T is testing, which is evaluation. The third T is treatment or treating, which is intervention. The fourth T is trending, which is integration. And the fifth T is trusting, which is execution. And that is what intervention says. You don't go the intervention way and you are just on talking alone. Well, you can talk the sense, as they say, into the individual. But I want to let you know that somebody suffering from addictive behavior, sense doesn't work, because what is feeding and fueling him is from the inside, beyond senses. So he yields to it, he listens to it, he has become a zombie to the parasite on the inside. So
meanwhile, at all times he should be king.
At all times you should be master of your own life, and they chart your course, and that's why they don't get to finish in schools. And once they begin to veer off, they create an extra life to their original life. And between the original life and the extra life is a deviation gap. That all kinds of bad behavior will now come in. They start telling lies. They start deceiving their parents to collect more money. They tell you they're in school. They won't read, but they will assure themselves they will pass. Because that is addiction.
That's addiction, what it is. It is whispering to them.
Yes, a false life and false hope. I say, don't worry, don't need to read too much, we'll still pass, just go ahead. They know they have exam the following day, but they go all night partying and doing all of this. They just believe that one miracle will just happen, and before you know it, they drop out of school. That's if they have not used their school fees to do because you see, once they are triggered, they can do anything, reasonable and unreasonable. They can later tell you where they couldn't just help it. You will even see some of them crying, I don't want to do it again, but they still go back. Why? The root has not been dealt with on the inside. We're only painting the surface through drug, through therapy, and through motivation. Motivation does not solve addiction. It is intervention through critical works on 3E model that sorts it out. So very critical. You are addicted out there, there is help and there is hope. And in most cases, it's not even through drugs and all of that. We'll take your analysis and see exactly what world is going on the inside. For example, by behavioral pitch, through this assessment, I'll be able to see the profile of drug addiction. Where are you down? Where are you up? And all of that. And help you get balance again from the inside. When you go up and down in your inside, of course, you won't be stable on the outside.
True.
So whatever happens on the inside sets the pace for the outside. And where inside is assumingly quiet because of therapy that does not touch the root cause, you know what will happen? Everywhere goes dead silence for a while. You say, okay, I wait for you. You want to stay here for the next 2 months, do therapy? Okay, keep your therapy. Keep doing it. I know where I will catch you. Addiction is a life, an extra life, bringing a strange attachment to an individual inside. And since you open your door inside at first, it will fester and grow over time and tap from your original energy and resources to grow its own life. An addiction, check it any day, does not grow alone. It must look for alibis, must look for friends and all of that. It works like demons. And that's why people who are in the religious or pastoral thing must know the difference.
Okay.
When addiction is at work and when a demon is aiding a bad behavior and all of those. We've made a clear-cut difference.
So you said you wrote a book recently, or an article?
It's a book.
It's a full-fledged book.
Full-fledged book that you can download upon request. The difference between addiction and demonic affliction, so that you know where you need to play your role and where you also need to hear help, seek for help, and what kind of help. For example, in the 70s when we were in primary school and all of that, you offend your parents, what do they bring out? Koboko. Lie down. They give you 6. You rub your but those things don't work these days because of things have changed. The world we live in is a dynamic world. Everything has gone digital. People live in the iCloud now. You see young children, they are surfing the net, making millions and smiling to the bank, even when they are not leaving their rooms. In our days, while we were young, it wasn't so. So advanced technology, ICT, digital war, infotech and everything has made things to be much more complicated, that somebody can sit in the room and be addicted to e-drugs, e-this, iTunes, iPhone, that, and you wonder, where do they get all of these things from? The world is a global village. So we'll handle you from the inside by seeing the world that is going wrong on the inside, show you. And you know what we discover in therapy at SABA Resources, when we are running such analysis and we come to the place of behavioral pitch, and we begin to interpret and showcase what the world is going on. Somehow, their emotion is arrested. They come to their senses to see the level of depravity, the level of bondage, and the level of deviation they have gone into. And some break down and cry, seeking to seek for help. And then through that, we're able to work on their emotion, show them the rot on the inside, and then sue for their cooperation to work those things away. Because joy, when you open your door to addiction of a necessity, when addiction wants to leave, at your own permission, is going to go through that same route. So that's what we do. It's garbage in and then garbage out.
Right.
So if there's no willingness, and there are some victims who are not willing to leave, they just fear they like being high, even if they are going to pay back through the back door on a very rigorous way, they want to keep it up. That's when they sell all kinds of things and all that. And there are some of them who are genuine. If they keep to therapy and they keep to discipline and all that they are taught, and there's follow-up afterwards, effective and efficient work the type would do, that person will just keep alive. And the essence of therapy is not just to walk you away from addictive behavior, it is also to help you find your original life so that you live normal and then take your life to the optimal by pulling out the resourcefulness, the skills you have, the competencies, the capacity, the talent and the giftings you have on the inside, and put them on your hand like a baton so that you can run on your own pitch and find a new set of living entirely. When that is not done and you say, oh, it's free now, you will go back to it because of idleness, because of not knowing what to do. It's just berserk.
Exactly.
He doesn't know where to face. They say read book, he reads book. They say don't play with friends. Friends will play with him in his mind. He will desire something else. You see, our mind is so viscous, it is so fluidy that you see, whatever you give to it will seek to direct you, speak to you, control you. So that's why what you feed your mind after therapy matters a huge lot.
Right.
Beside you releasing the mind to find its own level on a good supportive means, you also need to feed the mind consciously with what will make it track on a new level. Otherwise, you can go back. Otherwise, you can desire the past. Are you surprised that every headlight of a car, even in your dream, except your dream is a very bad one, the headlight of a car is in the front, not behind. Anyway, you have a dream and the headlight of your car is behind, wake up, that's a bad dream. So you are pointed towards your future, which is the next minute. From the next minute, do the needful and you will be okay.
Okay, I mean, we're getting some calls, but I think they're having issues with network.
Okay.
But we'll just move on now. You had talked about the T's.
Yes, 5T model.
5T model.
So anyone who wants to help you crack addiction must introduce you to 5T model. So the 5T model, one, you need to be carried along through talk, one-on-one. There should be that engagement to educate you, because some people actually fall in love with it because of the temporary respite they get. They say, well, I'll just forget my problem when when I take some drink, I'll just forget. It's like just staring the cloud. The cloud will settle,
okay, I think
and you come back. So teaching,
we have a caller right here.
Good.
Hello there, good evening.
Hello, good day. Good day to you.
I hope you've moved away from your device. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Okay, I'm calling from Ghana.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'm listening with the last to our Dr. James Komolafe.
thank you, sir.
Well, I really enjoyed the talk that is given on the drug addiction. Well, don't go on part 2. Anyway, I didn't watch the part 1.
Okay, I think the network has been
What's your question, sir?
The network has been very bad.
Okay,
so
you can send the question later to my phone number.
So you can send the question later, and you can also reach us on our YouTube channel. Joy Asoye Live is on YouTube, where you can also reach out. We respond to our questions right there, and you would also see how to reach Dr. James Komolafe. But because we are really running out of time.
And let them know I go everywhere.
Yes.
In Nigeria, I go everywhere on the internet. I go everywhere. I hold programs, conferences. In fact, some bishops' conferences invite me to come and talk about hypertension, depression, suicide, addiction, and sudden collapses. These are all behavioral variables that belongs to the same psychotic family, the same psychotic field: addiction, depression, suicide ideation, hypertension. They all track the same way, and so that is why it's very important we know what we are talking about when it comes to mild addiction. Oh, somebody with a bad habit, can't we do counseling? Yes, we can. But if it has become an addiction on the inside, that is directing the individual, he will actually understand and say, yes, it's true, I won't do it again. I remember in those days we told God, I said, any time I look anyhow, just remove my eyes. You'll have looked more than anyhow before you remember.
And because he's merciful.
Because he's merciful, he will just smile and say, hey, young man. So, you see, that's why we're engaging pastors and leaders, critical leaders everywhere. We do online, we do Zoom meetings to just educate. Faith is a great message that sells all through generation. But you know what? There are areas where fact must be mixed up with faith for you to get the result you are looking, the fruitfulness you are looking up to. For example, Joy, I can't be hungry now and I'll say, I'm filled by faith, and you won't go for food. Hunger is an advanced course.
Pastor Dr. James Komolafe, I don't want to come, like I said, I don't want to come after you, Pastor, but that is exactly what you sell, that there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you cannot do, you might not have a skill, but don't worry, the sky is your limit. That's exactly what you sell.
That is not true. That is not true. You don't have a skill. Hunger will teach you lesson. And hunger in our days is not an elective course. It's a core course and postgraduate course.
Right.
Hunger 8 to 7. You need to build skills.
Right.
I even advise leaders and pastors.
I think
don't just say
we have yet another caller.
Have handiwork. Support others.
Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, move away from your device, please.
Listening to him.
I'm back again online. I want to ask.
Okay, go ahead.
Can we get the book written by a doctor?
Okay, just send to me.
Dr. James Komolafe.
Send me a hi on my WhatsApp 08035 999-220, or just put my name on the internet and ask for my number. You see it everywhere.
You can just say hello. Can you hear me?
Go online and say,
Doc, don't worry, I got this. Rest assured, I got this. Kindly just say hi on this number. We would get you to reach Dr. James Komolafe, and that goes for everyone. The number displayed on the screen. Just kindly reach out to us. We would get you Dr. James Komolafe. Thank you so much for calling.
And you can also access my YouTube channel. Read my works, learn some of these
I'm
things.
sure immediately they Google James Komolafe.
Everywhere you see my number, everywhere. I flew everywhere because I'm passionate about drug addiction. That's why we have set up a behavioral modification Africa, where we'll send out everybody in the rehab center, let them go and live their normal lives.
Right.
It's a high time we showcase what is possible and doable, release people to their various destinies, and let them find new sense of living, rather than just sitting down and you are just praying. In fact, to all leaders out there, there is a triangle we have created and curated. What is the triangle? At top of it is prayer. Yes, prayer. Pray. When you pray, what do you generate? Spiritual ability. Then at the right side of the triangle is plan. What do you plan? The reality you want to see, you are expecting. And then at the left side, you play your own role. How do you play your own role? The activities that should support the ability that you have to create your reality. Where that is not done, and you are just saying, I'm praying about it, this boy must be free, he will have to be free, and all of that, you are motivating. And motivation is good, except that it will not solve the problem on ground.
Doc, we have just less than 3 minutes here on the show, so quickly, if there's something you want to go
cracking addiction is not rocket science. You need to be able to do the 5T model, for which we can train you and your group to do online. For example, now anyone who is interested in addiction management and all of that, what I tell them is create a group WhatsApp. Get me 30 people. I'll train you for free. Put the resources in your hand, and then you begin to engage on 5T model. You teach, education, you test,
Doc,
evaluation.
sorry, I have to cut you off.
Yes.
So let's quickly take this call. Hello there. Good evening. Yes, please move away from your TV set or turn it down so that we can have a proper conversation.
Okay, are you hearing me now?
Yes, it's clearer now.
Okay,
Okay, sir.
And I like this your program.
Thank you very much.
Somebody like that. This addiction. I have somebody like that.
Okay.
What can we do now for the person to rehabilitate? Because the place that your program is in Abuja.
In Abuja, we can do online therapy. Just get my number, get across. Yes, I work on people in Canada, Europe, America, and they get free. I also travel across Nigeria. So,
Dr. James Komolafe, just say hello on this number. We would get you to reach out to Dr. James Komolafe, and you will find out how you can reach him offline.
So simple and easy.
When we come out of the program, of course. Yes, just say hello and write your question. We would attend to it. Thank you so much for calling.
So in closing, Joy, cracking drug addiction is doable and it's simple and easy, no matter how many years. I've handled cases of 25 years, of 30 years, 6 rehab, 7 rehabs, just under 2 weeks. Because what we do is to stifle the energy that is feeding and fueling the addiction inside when we're able to locate where it's hanging and hiding. And then we'll show you the evidence of addiction. Addiction works with darkness.
I think this is
when light comes in, darkness disappears.
Thank you so much, Dr. James Komolafe. We really have run out of time. I'm seeing that calls are still coming.
Let them call us after.
Yes, we would still
5T model.
We will still have to pick your calls. We can't pick your calls right now, and I can see the calls coming in. Kindly reach us after the show. We would still have to attend to you. And remember, you can always reach us on YouTube and other social media channels. We are still Joy Asanya live there to respond to you. We are live all the time. So thank you again, Dr. James Komolafe, for being part of the program.
Let's have an Africa that is free,
drug free, addiction free,
substance abuse free.
Unfortunately, we really have run out of time. So thank you for calling. Those who have been trying to reach us, thank you so much for making the program rich and getting your questions. We'll be back tomorrow with so much more. Keep a date with us. My name is Joy Asanya.